Now, we just got some huge news out of the NFL, so we're going to get right into that. But before we get into the discussion of the Stefon Diggs trade to the Houston Texans, I want to remind everybody that it's very important to like, subscribe, and share this video to help us grow. Comments will be read in real time, so you have to be subscribed to comments, so make sure you do that. We'll get to your comments in real time. And also a major shout out to Pinnacle Sportsbook, the world's sharpest sportsbook, offering competitive odds for 25 years. We preach line shopping on this channel, and with everyday competitive odds, Pinnacle should be one of your available outs. If you want to support the show even further, when you sign up to Pinnacle, use code HAMMER. Pinnacle is your trusted sportsbook for 25 years. Bet smart, bet Pinnacle. Must be 19 plus in Ontario. Please play responsibly, and it is not available in the U.S. Now, gentlemen, let's get right into it. Stefon Diggs to the Houston Texans is a 2025 second-round pick going to Buffalo. That's a pick that they got from Minnesota. And the Bills are giving the Texans a fifth-rounder in 2025, a sixth-rounder in 2025, and, of course, the man, Stefon Diggs. Now, there are three kind of implications from this trade, so I'm going to lay them all out, and which one of you want to get into it first. But the first question I want to ask is, where do the Texans now rank in the AFC with this addition of Stefon Diggs? Number two is, how does this impact the Texans' cap moving forward? And number three, I know they still have Josh Allen, but is the Buffalo Bills window officially closed? Whichever one of you guys want to get started, let's hop right in.
I'll get started with my first thought for Buffalo was that I might end up being interested in some Buffalo prices if there is an overreaction to this trade. I know everybody is right now posting Buffalo's wide receiver depth chart, which, I mean, let's be honest, it's not good. But they're either going to end up drafting one or two guys in what's going to be a potentially historically deep wide receiver class. You never know. There could be maybe a trade on the horizon. I know TA posted something about maybe a Brandon Ayuk trade, maybe a T. Higgins trade could be on the horizon. A long shot, but a possibility. But, as long as Buffalo has Josh Allen at quarterback, the quote that Joe Burrow gave about the Bengals window, and he was like, the window is my entire career. That's kind of how I feel about Josh Allen. In my opinion, he's the second best quarterback in the NFL. There is concerns with the other teams in the division. We'll just dismiss New England. They're going to be really bad this year. We probably all agree on that. But the Jets, there's definitely an upside with the Jets, but there's definitely a very low floor with the Jets as well. And kind of feel the same way about Miami. Like there is an upside with them with the explosiveness they have on offense. But Tua still, in my opinion, isn't the most durable quarterback. They have the guys that they lost on defense. The offensive line is still a big concern for them. So my first reaction was maybe taking advantage of betting Buffalo at some point if there was an overreaction to this. I mean, Stefon Diggs, it's a loss to lose him. But remember, this is a guy that's entering his age 31 season. Last year, in the back half of the season, he had 1.43 yards per route run. We got to see Buffalo's offense was pretty functional with him playing in a little bit more of a reduced role, and they were highlighting James Cook and Dalton Kincaid more. So that was my first reaction from the Buffalo side. And from the Houston side, yeah, I think all of us were kind of high on Houston this year. We thought that they were positioned to take a jump. And it doesn't change my opinion on that. This is a top 3, 4, 5 at worst team in the AFC. That's going to be they're going to be up there in the end, in the divisional round, possibly conference championship. It's a really good roster, and they're taking advantage of CJ Stroud's rookie contract well.
Now to piggyback on that quickly, though, the same way that you're looking to maybe support Buffalo if the market overreacts, is it also twofold where the market might overreact to how good Houston is, or at this point, the Texans are simply just a contender and they just need to go out and prove it again because they are maximizing CJ Stroud's rookie year and, of course, coming off a great season last year? Is it possible the market overreacts the other way and gives Houston too much love where maybe there should be a little bit of a buyback on the Texans?
Yeah, I think that Houston's really good. I mean, I had them kind of neck and neck with Baltimore a few weeks ago when I was on. before the trade. I actually, think that, Buffalo made a really smart move here. I don't care about the draft compensation. They're going to take a major dead cap hit, like $30 million this year. That's fine. They save on, going forward on this contract. I mean, Diggs is 31, looked completely cooked, as Hitman mentioned at the end of the last year, is a problem in the locker room. And, who knows? It's one of those things where sometimes you take a guy out of, maybe he was demanding targets and they're inefficient targets. So you kind of get that equation out of there. And you get guys like Khalil Shakir. He's not a number one receiver. And I do think they're going to add more in the draft. They could, there's a guy like DJ Chark you might be able to get on a 1-year deal who isn't the worst player in the world, gives you a little bit of size outside. And Moose Shakir, more inside, like he's more suited. But it might make the targets a little bit more efficient when you're not force feeding a guy who's just, not playing well, like a guy like Diggs. So I do think it's perfectly fine. You've got a guy in Josh Allen who's going to be with the team for another 5-10 years at least. So you've got Brandon Beane, a GM who's got staying power. He's not going to be fired anytime soon. So you can afford to take a 1-year quote unquote reset. I still think they're going to be good. I still think they'll be favored to make the playoffs, especially when you've got a top 5 level quarterback like this. They still have a really good, defense. They didn't lose anybody outside of Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde amongst their starters from last year. So it's still going to be a top 12-ish defense. Still have James Cook. You got a decent offensive line. Like I said, you can add, a veteran in the free agent market. There's a Tyler Boyd, TJ Shark. Like those type of guys are fine. Draft somebody and you're going to be fine. Like I don't think that this is necessarily, their Super Bowl window is closing or anything like that. It's just kind of a 1-year reset. Next year, they'll be able to reload a little bit more. So I think this is a great move for Buffalo. I think that, it doesn't look like, just early read, that the betting markets are too negative on Buffalo. I think there's tied for third still in the AFC from what I can gather. So I don't think there's an overreaction yet there. I think with Houston, again, you get CJ Stroud on a rookie deal, a guy who's like 99% sure of being a really, really good quarterback. There's no question there. One of the best rookie seasons of all time amongst quarterbacks. And you just, supply him with as many weapons as possible. Even if Diggs is a bit overrated now and not a number one, you still got Nico Collins and Tank Dell there. He doesn't have to be the number one guy to get all, doesn't need 100 targets anymore. So it's definitely a move that was worth it for them. And, they've got other guys, Will Anderson, namely Tank Dell, like guys that are still in the same rookie contract length as Stroud. So you've got multiple years here with your core on these cheap deals. So you can afford to take chances like this, even if, Diggs is only going to be around for, maybe 2 years, 3 years. Nico Collins is actually going to be a free agent at the end of this year. So if Diggs does still have some juice left, you can afford to let Collins walk if you really need to. So, it gives them a little bit more flexibility, but this is a really good team, really good roster. They're going to face a much tougher schedule this year. I'll say that. So you mean look at the end of the year. They face Dallas on the road, at home against Baltimore, and at Kansas City to end the season. So it's a tougher schedule. So from a win total perspective, I have to evaluate a little bit more. But from a, just getting in the playoffs, I think they'll have a shot just because of that quarterback and the rest of this roster.
Yeah, really good Houston Texans team now. And the Buffalo Bills, like you said, as long as Josh Allen is there, that window cannot be fully closed. But so any final thoughts on the Diggs to Houston deal?
Pretty much agree with everything. I think that this trade helps Houston more than it hurts Buffalo. I'm close to zero concern about Buffalo going forward. Like the guy said, 31-year wide receiver who was obviously some kind of an issue last year, looked pretty much cooked as a wide receiver 1, and now going to Houston, he will basically be the wide receiver 3 on the depth chart. So Houston, I completely agree. I think we can make the case that they are top 3 team in the AFC with their roster top to bottom. There are not many holes, like only a few depth holes, like defensive tackle, cornerback 2. But overall, this is a pretty good roster, stacked on offense, decent offensive line, quarterback who's probably going to be good for a long time. So I really like this trade for Houston, and Buffalo will probably go like double tab or even 3 times wide receiver in this draft.
Yeah, it certainly makes sense. The Buffalo Bills should have some options to draft. And like the guys mentioned, there is opportunity for Buffalo to really kind of recoup what they lost in Stefon Diggs, because toward the end of the season, the argument can be made that they didn't really lose all that much with the way that he was playing. But maybe he'll be more revitalized, happy to be in a dome in Houston, Texas, rather than in the cold of Western New York and Buffalo.